Another new wheel ecosystem coming to the market of sim racing, and it's from China. We've got Immsource in the house here at Racecraft Simulations. G'day guys, Chris from Racecraft Simulations. We're bringing you Immsource for this one. Immsource is a brand new company to the sim racing market. Coming out of China, yes, another company coming out of China and breaking into the market. This seems to be the theme that we're following at the moment. Much like Sim Magic, they're starting off with wheelbases and wheels themselves to break into the market, but they do have plans to create a full ecosystem. They're talking about their own pedal sets, they're talking about integrated wheelbases with dash display units, so you might not need the Apex Sim Racing DDU anymore. But to start things off, they've released two wheelbases and a wheel to get us started. They have two wheelbases. They have the ET5 and the ET3. That's what's inside here. This is an ET3. We'll get into that in a minute. And then they've started things off with the very common and popular round GT style wheel. We'll push the wheel away for the moment and we'll get started with the ET3 wheelbase. Starting things off with the ET3 wheelbase. Firstly, let's look at the box. Of course, you've got the money shot on the front there, the ET3 wheelbase. You've got all of their product descriptions on the side here. They say it's an ultra short body at 152 millimeters. The body is only 152 mils long, which can meet the installation use of various scenarios. They talk about their 50 kilohertz real force feedback algorithm. What are they saying here? 50 kilohertz force feedback calculation rate, 1 kilohertz force feedback update rate, and providing the best force feedback feel. The inner rotor motor, pretty standard for these kinds of wheelbases. This is obviously a direct drive wheelbase. High efficiency inner rotor motor, specially customized direct drive simulation equipment, providing high response, torque, and low temperature rise. Wireless quick release, this is something that I'm interested to see as well, because if the wheel is powered, I'm wondering how they transfer power to the wheel. We've seen with the Sim Magic how it has the little power strips on the face of the quick release, and then the pins are in the female side of the quick release. So we'll check on that one as well. They say open ecology. This is an interesting one. External devices can be connected through the USB port of the base to expand more excellent peripherals and functions. So they're not locking you down to a special ecosystem. Assumedly, if it's USB, you can kind of just plug and play whatever you like. And then driver software, they talk about through the Im platform, obviously being Immsource, that's creative naming right there. It can meet the needs of novice or professional training and use. On the backs, immerse yourself in Immsource. Clever wordplay here, which is really cool to see. And what about on the other side? So just some pictures of the product from front and back. One thing I'm keen to see, they talk about that expandable interface. There's 6 USB ports on the back of the wheelbase, according to this picture. So we'll check on that and get into it. So let's crack this bad boy open. Let's have a look at the Immsource ET3. More clips on the side here. You peanut. All right. Flip that one over, flip that one back without me falling off my stool. Very well packaged, the solid foam packing here that keeps it all together. We'll get that packing peanut out of the way. Okay, so inside, I'll just tip that up gently. We can take a look at what's inside the ET3 box. It's all packaged very neatly, very cool to see. First thing we see is we have what seems to be the manual, although it does seem a bit thin on pages and a bit thick on paper. So ET3 manual, there's not a whole bunch of English on the front there, which may limit marketability, and there's certainly not much English in the main pages there. So maybe need ourselves a translated manual to get going. Of course, this is probably the first unboxing of Immsource products that we've seen, I think, in the world. Certainly in Australia, at least, here at Racecraft. So it's got all the diagrams, annotations of what the various things are, but there's not a bunch of English there. So unless you can read in multiple languages, it might be a little hard. But it outlines the basic use on how everything seems to be going together and how everything should be working. So that should come in handy later on. It would be good if we can get translated manuals online, though, through Immsource's website. Onto, that looks like a wireless antenna, just with the standard coaxial thread-on connection, so that's cool. Let's check out here. We've got our USB-A to USB-B cable. It's got the little ferritic thing on there as well, so that looks like it's our main data cable from the wheelbase to the computer. And then this is pretty straightforward. It's your power cable for the wheelbase power brick. And here is the power brick. Now, this power brick looks identical to the one we see on the SimMagic units. From my memory at least, I've got my SimMagic Alpha Mini sitting on my rig at home, and this looks very similar. However, the power connector on the SimMagic units is a clip-in, I think it's a 3 or a 4 pin connector that actually clips into the side of the wheelbase. This looks like just a regular old DC in that just pokes itself in and doesn't have any clips. So you may want to be careful while routing this on your sim rig to make sure that this can't come out halfway through a race, or if you've got a motion rig, or if you're just really violent with the way you drive, this might be a bit risky here. But that's going to be interesting. We'll see whether that gives us any grief later on down the line. And then, of course, oh geez, that's got a bit of weight to it. What we've all been waiting for, the Immsource ET3. This is really short. So double check there's nothing left in the box, and we'll yeet the box under the ground. So this is the ET3 wheelbase. Look at that, looking good. So a quick look, it looks very similar to what we've had already in-house from the SimMagic. I think it is a lot shorter than the SimMagic Alpha Mini though. It does look quite short. It's got this silver band like you would see on a SimCube unit. It's interesting to see there, that silver band. Johnny's telling me that the band is gone now, so this is an earlier model of course, but newer models, if you buy them, that'll be nice and blacked out now. Cool laser engraving of the Immsource logo on the side here. I thought it was on the other side, but it's only on this side. On the front, we have your regular bolt patterns here. Johnny, is this the same bolt pattern as the SimiCube?
Yes.
He says it is.
Sorry, SimiCube Ultimate.
SimiCube Ultimate, okay.
SimMagic's the same, yeah.
Okay, so this is the same bolt pattern for your front mount wheelbases as a SimiCube Ultimate or your SimMagics. So it'll work with our front mount wheelbases that we have here at Racecraft Simulations. We've got the standard wheel axle. It does look quite stubby and quite short here, but we never will know what's on the side of the wheel when we get that bolted. On the D10 here, this is the same kind of ball D10 quick release that we've seen on the SimMagic units. And on the front, there's no power transfer tabs. So I'm wondering whether, if this does transfer power through to the wheel when it's connected, which it should if you've got any sort of powered wheel, without using a USB cable, then it must be doing it through the same technology that you use to wirelessly charge your phone. What is it? Induction or convection? No, it's induction charging. So this might have that same kind of induction technology in the male part of the quick release here, which will be interesting to see. Little LED here, obviously to transmit the various status. But what I was really interested to see on the back here is the various connections. Okay, so we have a USB activity light, it seems, a on-off switch, which is cool to have an on-off switch directly on the wheelbase and not anything like inline on the cable like what we've seen from the SimMagic. If I'm drawing too many SimMagic references, that's because I have a SimMagic Alpha Mini at home. This is going to be competing directly with the Alpha Mini in the market for that same 10 Newton meter kind of ground. This ET3 is a 10 Newton meter wheelbase, which is why I'll be reviewing it on my home rig to compare directly to the SimMagic. So forgive me if I make too many SimMagic references here. Your power in receiver, so that comes straight from, where am I going? Comes straight from your power brick that we pulled out of the box before. And then you have the antenna mount, so that would be for the receiving of the signal coming from the wheel. You've got your USB-B out port, so that's for the main connection to the PC, but look at this, 6 USB expansion interface. They label this on the back of the wheelbase. How cool is that? It's a sim racer's conundrum on building a PC that how many USB slots does that motherboard have? And how can I fit more in it? Because when you think about it, if you're running all USB equipment like you would have with the Immsource, you've got a USB wheel, you've got a USB set of pedals, then if you're running a shifter, you've got at least one more. A dash would have at least one more. A button box, a flag display, if you're running a USB gaming microphone, a USB webcam, then you've got a keyboard, a mouse, and a USB wireless headset. Hold up, you're up to 11 USB ports before you have any other kinds of peripherals plugged into your computer. And that's where a lot of computers start to run out of ports. But having 6 directly on the back of the wheelbase means that you could keep all your cable management nice and tidy, have all the cables contained within your rig, plug them into the back of the wheel, and as long as you've got enough traffic to be able to go through this USB cable, and that this can handle the kind of traffic without causing any delays, you can keep everything self-contained and just have I would assume you could even connect your pedals to this. You could just have one USB cable coming off the rig and into the PC, and you can save all those extra slots for all the other things you want to plug into your computer and have fun with. So that's really cool. We'll try that out on the home rig and see how it goes. But that is the Immsource ET3 wheelbase. Nice and easy. Let's get stuck into the wheel. The wheel. Now this is the FD1 wheel that they've given us here from Immsource, or that Johnny's given me from Immsource. A quick look at the box again. They've got the product picture on the front, the backside product picture on the back. Immerse yourself in Immsource again on the side here. On the top, just the regular product placement. But on this side, let's have a look at it here. They talk about wireless quick release. Realize the quick disassembly and assembly of the steering wheel and the base. Provide stable and efficient power supply for the steering wheel. So I was correct in my initial assumption that there should be power going through this connection, and that would be through some sort of inductive method. I would assume the same way you would be charging your iPhone or your Android device wirelessly with the key technology, what is it, the QR key technology that they use to charge wirelessly. Anyway, moving on. Integrated clutch shift system. So clutch shift system with multiple mode switching can realize high precision and high response input. So it does look like it has the analog clutch paddles on here, and I would assume that that means that you can set your bite point and various combinations, just like what we see with people when they use really high-end aftermarket wheel systems. They can do the two-stage clutch. You can do it with your Fanatec systems, or we can even do it with the SimMagic GT4C like I have at home. You can't do it with their GT1D or GT1R wheels because they don't have the extra set of analog paddles available from factory. Moving on, custom RGB lights. So RPM lights and button lights have multiple functions and color definitions. So on the picture here you can see there should be a set of RPM lights on top of the wheelbase, and it looks like they're talking about the fact that you might be able to recolor these wheel button lights as well. And then rich input. It says 6 buttons, 1 joystick left, 1 4-way coding switch right, and 2 band coding knobs. So it looks like you have 6 buttons, 2 rotary encoders, 1 regular spring-loaded joystick, and 1 4-way joystick, which should give you the rotary encoder plus 4 directions as well. So without further fuffing about on the box, let's crack it open and see what it looks like inside. We might have to just quickly shift the wheelbase to one side. Try not to drop it. And this is the fun part, as always with wheels, trying to get them out of the box. Johnny, I might need your help here, brother. Johnny, everyone knows Johnny from Racekraft. Grab the box there. Slide it, careful. Hey, and it's coming. Alright, so let's get the box out of the way. We'll bring the wheelbase back because we still want that in the shot to be able to look at that. Alright, so first impressions, getting the foam out. Just looks like a big old foam donut. Lift off the top of our donut and we are left with the FD1 wheel. Now, I'm not entirely sure on models. Johnny, you might be able to fill in some of the blanks here. Do they offer various different models of wheel, or is it all just the round leather wheel?
No, so it's D and round.
Okay,
yeah.
So they've got D and round. So this is the round, but it's been labelled the D. So I assume they do have a GT1D style wheel with the flat bottom, like we see on other Fanatec R300 units, or R330s even, and the SimMagic wheelbases. Taking a look at everything else in there, there's nothing. We don't have any manual I can see, there's no instructions, we just have the wheel. So get rid of the foam down there and let's get into it. Look at that, that's pretty cool. Now, I'm not entirely the biggest fan of these round leather wheels. I'm a big open wheeler fan, so the formula style wheel like what I have at home on the GT4C from SimMagic is going to be more my style, but with a lot of sprint car racing and dirt oval stuff on iRacing, this is probably a better wheel for that kind of combination. Anyway, a quick look at the front here. We've got the rotary encoders. They do feel nice and crispy, those rotary encoders. They're quite crisp there. 6 buttons, so 3 on each side. They're labelled just the same as what we've seen on the SimMagic. They do have a little label. It looks like they're painted and they've just let that part clear, so the LED lights behind the buttons should be shining through. But the tactile feel of the buttons is actually quite good. It's a similar look almost identical look to that of the Sim Magic buttons. Hold this space. I'm going to compare right here. Okay, so to compare buttons, I went and quickly ripped off the GT1 style wheel off of the RK4 unit we have in-house, and looking at these buttons, they've got the bigger enclosure around, but a much louder button themselves, but they actually do look very similar. So anyway, that's enough about the Sim Magic wheel. Looking at these, they do look very good. What else do we have? We've got this joystick, so that's a full floating ball spring-loaded joystick, whatever you want to call it. There's no rotary function there. And then we've got, what do we have here? It's a 4-way, and then it's push button and rotary as well. So you got, so we call them the 7-way funky switch. They called it a 4-way on the box, but it's just the same as a 7-way funky switch. So you have 4 directions you can push. You have the push in function plus the 2 twists as well. Across the top, you can see we have a set of LED rev lights. The general construction, if we were to take the wheel off, assuming that it does have that same 70mm PCD by 6 hole bolting pattern, we should be able to bolt any kind of 70mm by 6 wheel onto it. So you could go and get yourself a Sparko or a Momo wheel, and you should, pending button layouts, be able to bolt a wheel straight on. If I grab the Sim Magic again, it looks like we could almost unbolt this wheel and bolt it straight to here for Immsource. But anyway, enough of the comparisons. On the back, it's an all aluminium casing of the main body. It looks very clean. No noticeable marks or blemishes from the manufacturing process. It looks like it's got a little bit of ventilation in the top there just to allow any of that passive air and passive cooling to escape. USB-C port on the back here, so you could potentially plug this into the computer and allow yourself to do some programming and reprogramming of the wheel. The paddles themselves, carbon fiber plate for the paddle, 2 M3 button head screws holding them into the actual arm that does the shifting mechanism, so we've got a nice tactile shifting feel, feels good. And then we've got the 2 analog, if I move my hand down, the 2 analog paddles here that the same deal, they're spring loaded just as you would expect from any of the other analog paddles. They feel good. There's a nice consistent range there. Hopefully they pick up nicely with the management software that you will have with this system in your computer. And onto this quick connect. So as I expected from looking at the ET3, no power rings or tabs on here. There's no spring-loaded pins or anything on the inside of the quick connect. They've done a nice job to put the Immsource logo in there though, so it always looks pretty nice. But it does look like if this is getting power from the wheelbase, that it's getting it through that key charging or induction transfer method. The quick release itself is that same ball detent that we see on the D1 quick releases, but this one has more of the Fanatec feel to it. It's got that single ring with the plate here that you can just pull the clip back and get it to snap onto your wheelbase. So overall, it looks like a solid feel. If I can just stand this up without knocking the antenna bracket off. This is a little bit sketchy, don't try this at home. Always do it on a secure bench top. We lock that in and boom, we're locked in. This is your Immsource ET3 and FD1 base and wheel combination. This will be going on my Formula rig at home, and I'll be giving you an extensive amount of testing and some solid review feedback in coming weeks here at Racekraft Simulations. But for a quick one, we do have them bolted up to RK5 and 6 here at Racekraft Simulations. We have both the ET3 and the ET5 on the rigs in-house. So if you feel like coming in the meantime and testing them out, feel free, get in touch with Johnny and come on down and give them a go. So we've jumped on to RK6 here at Racecraft. This has the ET5 mounted up already. Just for a bit of a test, we decided to load into iRacing and have a crack with the Hyundai Elantra NTCR around the Knock Hill circuit. At first glance, I've done bugger all setups. This is all about that first impression, the very first feel of the Immsource wheelbases, being that the ET5 is the 15 Newton meter wheel. I think we do have the torque setting turned right up here, and I've just gone through the process of setting it with the iRacing settings. Of course, in the latest build for 2022 Season 1, iRacing has changed the way you do the force feedback setting a little bit, so slightly adjusted process, but the simple method of going out there after setting up the wheels feel itself and then just going for the auto button and letting iRacing decide how much of the signal to send out. And then for finer tuning, you can make those smaller adjustments using the Immsource inbuilt software or whatever software you have attached to your wheel system. The initial feel, it feels really good. The small bumps and ripples around Knockhill are really noticeable, even in the front-wheel drive cars, which tend to be a little bit numb due to their more road-going behavior and the better relevance and correlation to their road-going counterparts. But even flying over the curbing at the chicane at Knockhill can be a bit of fun. I really like this rev counter. Come around here and check out this rev counter as I make a meal of these corners around Knockhill. The rev counter is awesome. It has a whole bunch of different presets that you can choose for different colors to suit different types of cars and different types of racing. You can set the different rev elements and where you want it to come in and flash for you, etc. But straight away in the basic settings, the shift feeling's really good. This is the D-shaped wheel here, of course, on the ET5, like we said. But everything feels really mint, and I'm really, really impressed with this. So, keen to get it on the rig at home, give it a more solid workout, and play with some of those finer tuning settings. But first impressions, this feels very similar to what I've been experiencing with the likes of my SimMagic Alpha, or when I come in here to Racekraft and have a crack on any of the SimuCube units. The feel is very, very good, and it's a lot of fun as well. So certainly a tick so far on the first impressions for the Immsource ET units of their wheelbases and the FD series of wheel.